Forward, where light begins. These essays, The Architecture of Light, The Grammar of Light, and The Geometry of Light, are meditations upon my initiation as an entered apprentice. They were born not from the desire to explain Freemasonry, but to understand my own awakening within it. Each paper marks a step of my inward ascent, from perceiving the symbols of the lodge to discerning their inner grammar, then experiencing the living geometry which binds them together. Before entering the lodge, I had been a devoted student of Paul Foster Case, a brother raised in Fairport Lodge number 476 under the Grand Lodge of New York, and one of the foremost exponents of Western esoteric tradition in the 20th century. His Masonic letter G and later work with the builders of the Adytum revealed the reflective unity of Masonic geometry and Hermetic Kabbalah. When I first encountered the working tools of Masonry, I recognized the familiar themes within them, laws of balance and proportion. I am inspired by a noted Masonic author, Brother P.D. Newman, who wonderfully observed, "It has been suggested by many authors, most notably Brethren Alphonse Louis Constant and William Wynne Westcott. Kabbalah is the key to the mysteries of Freemasonry. However, beyond certain vague and loose particulars, these claims are rarely supported by any solid evidence, and it is left for the most part to the ingenuity of the contemplative Mason to divine these mysteries of his own accord." Taking his counsel to heart, the following pages are simply the fruits of my personal meditation, my own attempt to trace, however imperfectly, the lines of correspondence between the light of Masonry and the light shining through the wider Western mystery current. These essays are not meant as doctrine or proof of connection between systems. They are reflections, moments of recognition where the symbols of Freemasonry and the teachings of Western esotericism seem to speak in a single voice. My aim is to share those moments as they arise, like lights discovered along the path toward liberation. The Architecture of Light, Foundations of the Inner Temple, Opening Reflection. When I first entered the lodge, I carried more questions than understanding. The room was quiet, the air still pungent from incense. I felt the weight of something more ancient than I could name. In the moment, I realized this was not a ceremony to watch, but a threshold to cross. As an entered apprentice, I soon learned Freemasonry speaks in symbols more than in words. Every tool, every step, every light carries meaning. The purpose of initiation, I began to see, is not to be told what the light is, but to be guided toward finding it within myself. In time, I came to recognize three expressions of this light: the great lights upon the altar, the lesser lights surrounding it, and the human lights who govern the lodge. Each reveals a different order of truth, divine, cosmic, and human, yet together they form a single design, a temple not built by hands but by intention and understanding. What follows is my reflection upon this discovery, how the symbols of the craft became a mirror for my own awakening, and how, through them, I first began to glimpse the outline of the inner temple I am still learning to build. Part 1. The Foundation, the Great Lights. The great lights of Masonry, namely the volume of the sacred law, the square, and the compasses, form the foundation of every Masonic work. They are not merely tools upon an altar, but emblems of eternal principles. The volume of sacred law reveals divine revelation and truth. The square symbolizes morality, truthfulness, and honesty. The compasses set the bounds of spiritual discipline, embodying restraint, skill, and knowledge. Together, they compose the trestle board of the soul, the design by which the Mason must build his inner temple. Albert Pike, in Morals and Dogma, describes these lights as the trinity of human duty, obedience to law, regulation of conduct, and subjugation of desire. W. L. Wilmshurst, in The Meaning of Masonry, calls them the spiritual geometry of the universe. Their combined symbolism bridges heaven and earth, revelation, reason, and restraint. The three great lights form a triangle at the top of the Tree of Life, a configuration known in Kabbalah as the supernal triangle, the primal triad from which all creation unfolds. Israel Regardie, a noted author in the Hermetic Kabbalist tradition, describes this supernal realm as the archetypal region above polarity and form, from which all emanations descend. In Masonic language, we might say, the word, kether, gives rise to motion, hokmah, which is fixed in form, bina. The great lights, therefore, are not static objects, but living symbols of this eternal process. Through them, the Mason learns moral law, cosmic order, and divine revelation are one harmonious design, the foundation of light. W. Kirk McNulty, in Kabbalah and Freemasonry, offers an alternate alignment, wherein the great lights correspond to 3 of the 4 worlds of the Kabbalists. The volume of the sacred law reflects Atziluth, the world of emanation, the pure utterance of the divine word. The compasses embody Bria, the world of creation, wisdom giving shape to potential, and the square signifies Yetzirah, the world of formation, law and order establishing the boundaries of manifestation. Their union finds fulfillment in Asaya, the world of action, where the Mason labors in matter to manifest the celestial design. Thus, as McNulty observes, the lights become a bridge between the unseen and the seen, the pattern by which heaven descends into the craft of the human soul. The Mason stands between heaven and earth, where symbol becomes instruction. The great lights remind him divine order is not distant but reflected in the work of his own hands. When he opens the volume of the sacred law, measures by the square and traces with the compasses, he participates in a living geometry joining the celestial and the moral. Whether one contemplates the supernal triangle or the 4 worlds of the Kabbalists, both frameworks reveal the same purpose: to teach the craftsman how order above is mirrored in order below. Geometry is not only the science of lines and forms, it is the law of relationship through which the universe holds its measure. In the lodge, the measure becomes a way of life. Part 2. The Plan. The Lesser Lights. Encircling the altar are the 3 lesser lights, the sun, the moon, and the master of the lodge. They illumine the sacred space just as the heavenly bodies govern the natural world. The sun rules the day, the moon governs the night, and the master presides with reason and judgment. Each embodies a principle of cosmic harmony: illumination, reflection, and conscious direction. The sun signifies enlightenment and life force, corresponding to Tifereth, the central sephira of beauty and balance. It is the emblem of divine radiance shining through the human soul. The moon mirrors faith and renewal, reflecting the rhythm of creation. It corresponds to Yesod, the sphere of imagination and mediation. Israel Regardie describes Yesod as the receptacle of all the other forces of the tree. Just as the moon reflects the light of the sun, Yesod receives and distributes the harmonizing energy of Tifereth downward into Malkuth, the world of manifestation. Within the lodge, the moon performs this same office, reflecting the sun's light to the brethren. The master of the lodge, presiding over the work with wisdom and direction, resonates most closely with Kether, the crown. Kether embodies unity, purpose, and the initial spark of creation. Knight and Lomas in the Hiram Key describe the master as the human reflection of divine order, stating, "The light is not only celestial but vested in the authority of the master himself, who reflects the archetype of wisdom." Thus the 3 lesser lights, sun, moon, and master, form a perfect triad of celestial order, a living symbol of the balance between the divine and the human. Wilmshurst reminds us, "The true light which Masonry bids us seek is that which reconciles all opposites. So too the lesser lights reconcile motion and rest, day and night, spirit and form." The psalmist declares, "Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path." The sun is the blazing lamp of revelation, the moon, the enduring light in darkness, and the master, the lamp-bearer who directs the lodge in moral clarity. Part 3. The structure, the officers as ethical pillars. If the great lights establish the foundation and the lesser lights reveal the plan, the officers of the lodge constitute its living structure. They are called lights because they carry illumination into action. The worshipful master in the east embodies wisdom. The senior warden in the west expresses strength. The junior warden in the south radiates beauty. These are not abstract virtues, but working forces, pillars of ethical labor supporting the edifice of masonry. In Kabbalistic symbolism, this triad corresponds to the ethical triangle of the tree of life. It is the region of the soul where divine ideals take human form, where mercy and severity are reconciled through harmony. The ethical triangle consists of three Sephiroth: Hesed, Geburah, and Tifereth. Hesed, or mercy, represents compassion, generosity, and benevolent leadership. Geburah, or severity, embodies justice, discipline, and the power to restrain. Tifereth, or beauty, serves as the mediator between them, uniting love and law in balanced proportion. Together they form the heart of the tree, the moral center where spiritual insight becomes ethical conduct. Viewed through this lens, the three principal officers of the lodge stand as living representations of this inner geometry. The worshipful master, seated in the east, reconciles mercy and severity as the harmonizer in Tifereth, governing the lodge with wisdom born of equilibrium. The senior warden embodies Geburah, the just strength that upholds the law and ensures the stability of the work. The junior warden expresses Hesed, the benevolent mercy that safeguards the harmony of the craft and watches over the brethren at refreshment. Albert Pike offers another interpretation, aligning the three lesser lights directly with wisdom, strength, and beauty, each a distinct sephira upon the tree of life. In this arrangement, the senior warden becomes the emblem of strength, Geburah, the junior warden reflects beauty, Tifereth, and the master in the east represents wisdom, Chokhmah. Seen together, one view speaks in the language of moral illumination, while the other reveals the sacred geometry through which light descends and form takes meaning. Part 4. The Temple. The Mason as a Temple of Light. Every Masonic symbol points inward. The temple we raise on the outside echoes the one we have been shaping on the inside. The great lights reveal divine truth. The lesser lights reflect cosmic law. The officers embody human virtue. When these converge, the Mason himself becomes the temple of light. Wilmshurst describes this inner work as the building of the living temple wherein the light dwells. Each degree adds a new course of stone. The entered apprentice lays the foundation of discipline. The fellow craft perfects the structure through understanding, and the master mason crowns it through realization. Israel Regardie calls this ascent the passage from form to spirit, from symbol to realization. To labor uprightly before the sacred law, to square one's actions and compass one's desires, is to reproduce in miniature the architecture of creation itself. The light that first shone upon the altar becomes, through understanding, the light shining within the heart. Thus the mason, by patient work and faithful design, becomes both architect and temple, the living embodiment of the architecture of light.